What's up, guys, and welcome to my spoiler discussion, spoiler review, spoiler thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the best MCU movie to date. This is a deep, emotionally charged, driven film with a terrific lead performance from Tom Holland as Peter Parker, Spider-Man. He gives the best performance he's given yet in this movie. And look, if we're going to get into spoilers here, let me just break down some of the stuff that I thought was great and some of the stuff that the crowd totally lost their minds. If you saw my interview with Fox News, I mentioned that the crowd erupted a couple times, and I'll definitely let you guys know when. And the first time they went crazy was like the first 10 minutes of the movie, where Spider-Man he needs help, he needs a lawyer, and here comes Matt Murdock, here comes Charlie Cox, and the, the 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 gasps that led to cheers was great. I think it's awesome to have him in the MCU and to see where he goes. Will he meet up with Peter Parker again? Will he meet up with Tom Holland again? Uh, he's not going to remember him, but they didn't know each other for very long anyway, so maybe they could just kind of introduce each other again. I think that could be really cool. Who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, that was the first time we saw him. We see in this film that Peter Parker is continuing to make decisions. He has to make choices throughout the whole film. Right in the beginning of the movie, when his identity is revealed, he has to make a choice to try to live with it at first. How is he going to live with it? And it turns out he really can't. It's kind of ruining his life. It's ruining his friends' lives. Ned and MJ, they can't get into the school they want to get into. So I thought it was kind of clever to have the Halloween decorations up still, because the movie takes place towards Christmas. And the guy running the shop says, "Hey, MJ, take down the Halloween stuff. I thought I told you to do that." And it's a funny thing. She said, "Oh, well, you told the other girl, but whatever. And please don't throw up, because he'll just make me clean it." I thought that was pretty funny. So he sees the wizard. Tom Holland sees the wizard, and he says, maybe I could go to Doctor Strange and see what he could do. So he goes. We see it in the trailer, and Strange says, "Look, I don't have the time stone anymore." And then Wong goes, "Oh, he's very forgetful." And then he says, "Oh, that's a pretty good idea. Maybe we could just have everybody forget." Wong says, "Leave me out of it." So they go down, and the scene you see in the trailer, Strange is about to do the spell. Let's have the world forget the Peter Parker Spider-Man. Tom jumps into this decision real quick. Peter jumps into the decision real quick to go to Strange. He doesn't really think it through, and that's maybe one of his biggest problems as a character. One of his biggest flaws, And he says, "Oh wait, maybe we should have MJ remember." And then okay, and then Ned, and then Aunt May, and then Happy, and then Strange just fiddles with the spell too much, where it goes insane, it goes bonkers, and he's able to contain it. And at this point, we're like, okay, so that's not going to work. So let's go and let's try to talk to this mixer, because Strange is like, "Oh, you didn't even try to talk to the school to plead your case," that was a hilarious scene. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is fantastic in this movie. This might be my favorite appearance of Doctor Strange in any of the films, including his own. I thought he was great in this. And then you got that great scene on the bridge where he's with the woman. She's like, you're on the street and all this, and then you hear the tentacles coming. You hear the roar, the uproar of the people running, and you see Doc Ock, and it zooms into his face, and you get that great Danny Elfman music, as we see him for the first time. I thought that was fantastic, and they have a great fight. But his lines are great too. Alfred Molina does a great job. "Where's my machine? The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. It's gone." The tritium. And I love that was all played into it. And if you don't know those movies, you're like, okay, so this is a Doc Ock from another universe, and he's wanting something, and Peter Parker's attached to it. Spider-Man's attached to it. So they have a great fight, an awesome fight. The CG looked fantastic, and I thought it was really clever for Peter to sort of, Ock gets the nanotechnology, and then Peter's able to control it. And I think that's fantastic. And when he's like, "You've outdone yourself, Peter," and the nanotechnology starts wrapping around the arms of the tentacles, and you hear the theme again. It's more prominent. It's very strong. Michael Giacchino did a fantastic job with the music in this movie. And then the humor, how he starts to wave and everything with the tentacles. I thought that was great. And the woman from the school realizes, oh, you're a hero, so I'll talk to them about your friends, and I'll talk to them about you. And then before we get back to the sanctum, we see the Goblin, and you hear his theme. It's the only time you hear the Goblin's theme, but it's the only time you actually see him in his full outfit, his full Spider-Man 1 Green Goblin costume on that glider, and you see him coming. You hear and then it gets they get taken to the sanctum. Goblin escapes, and they get taken to the sanctum. We see Doctor Strange got the lizard. He was able to capture the lizard, and he's like, "Look, the spell went a little wonky, and everybody from every other universe that knows Peter Parker's Spider-Man was able to come to this universe, but not everybody. A few of them squeaked through." So that made sense that we didn't see like everybody from those movies, but a few of them squeaked through, and I thought that was really smart. And I thought that makes sense why they're here. So then we have to go and we have to catch the rest of them. We have to get them all here, and then we have to send them back. And I thought that was a great scene, seeing Peter flip his suit inside out because somebody got a mess on it, that green stuff, that green goo. And we see him swinging through the forest in this beautiful shot, swinging through the sunset almost. It was beautiful. And he's got his phone taped to his chest. So we see Ned and MJ, they're with him. They're like all three detectives. They're actually like a team in this film, and I thought that was great. We see Sandman, and he's actually trying to help Peter. Says, "What, Peter, you remember me? It's Flint Marko." And we see him as a full Sandman, as we did in Spider-Man 3, and I love that. Thomas Hayden Church's voice acting in this was great. It might have been mocap. I don't know how they did it, but in this universe, it's like, okay, so maybe he's gotten to the point where he can't revert, kind of like how the Hulk was in Thor Ragnarok. He couldn't revert back to Bruce Banner. He was having a difficult time doing that, so I thought, okay, so maybe he can't turn back to Flint Marko. Maybe he's always just going to be the Sandman, literally. And I thought that was great. Visually, too. I thought the visuals on it were great. And then we see Jamie Foxx, who's there, and, they both get brought back to the sanctum. We have that great bit with the Goblin, very Spider-Man 1, where he's talking to his mask and the Goblin in his head, and they're going back and forth. He's like, "Leave me alone," great scene. He smashes the mask. He has a very Kylo Ren moment. And then he goes to feast, and that's where Aunt May's working, and she calls him, and she says, "Hey, I think one of the people you're looking for is here." And then we see him, and Norman is this very vulnerable kind of guy. He's scared. He doesn't know what's going on. He's in this new universe. What's happening here? The Goblin's taking over. It's all playing in his head, and I thought it was great, and it led to some good humor when he was taking the donuts and he's chucking them in his pocket. I thought that was hilarious. Just great humor like that, subtle humor, in the background humor, but it's prominent. And then Aunt May kind of says, maybe you should help these guys. And he's like, "No, it's not my responsibility." She says, "Maybe you should help them." And he sort of walks away. We get back to the sanctum. There's that great fight between Doctor Strange and Peter. What are we going to do here? What are we going to do? Are we going to send them back? Because we find out that some of them die to Spider-Man, and Peter Parker says maybe we could help them. These guys are going to die. Maybe we don't want that. And the execution of it was great. And Michael Giacchino's score is like boom, boom, boom. I loved it. And then Doctor Strange and Peter have that great fight in the mirror dimension. That was fantastic. And he bests him by math. geometry. I thought that was pretty funny. How smart Peter Parker is. They brought that into it. That was great. Um, and as you can tell, the movie keeps moving. Like the story, it never slows down. It's at an excellent pace this whole way. And so Peter's like, okay, we're gonna take you guys. We're gonna try to help you. We're gonna try to fix you. So they go back to Happy's apartment, and they're able to fix Doc Ock. They're able to fix the chip in the back of his head, so Otto turns into Otto again. He's not controlled by the arms, and he doesn't have this angry, voice in his head. And he's like, and I love the delivery from Alfred Molina, where he's like, the voices inside my head. He's like, it's quiet or something like that, and he's like, oh, I almost forgot, like how it felt to be human, just normal. And he's like, how can I help? And I love that. Otto Octavius is redeemed by Peter Parker in this film. He's able to help him. I love that aspect of it. So maybe he doesn't end up dying in the Raimi films. Maybe when we go back and they're sent back home, maybe I don't know. I mean, he's going to get sent back to the time where he has to drown the tritium. But how are they going to do it? Like, is he going to just, I don't know. Is he going to be like, you know what? I'm going to drown this right now. I don't know how that would play out. Probably the same way, because he's redeemed at that same moment in that film. Which is kind of heartbreaking, because I love him. I love that character. And they're trying to fix Electro, and all of a sudden, he gets this sense, a spider sense. What's going on? Something's wrong. And it's Norman. It's the Goblin, and he's taken over. And you get that great line from Willem Dafoe. Alfred Molina's like, Norman? And he's like, Norman's on sabbatical, honey. Oh my God. The way he said that just sent chills up my spine. I thought that was great. He has that great speech. Jamie Foxx is like, maybe I don't want to get fixed. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm just going to, I want to live like this. I want to taste of this new power. He sees the little arc reactor thing. So all hell breaks loose. Electro escapes, Lizard escapes, Sandman escapes. Yeah, Doc Ock gets knocked out the window, but he survives, but he escapes too. Great fight between Norman and Peter. Brutal fight. He's punching him. He's wailing him in the face. And Norman's just, the Goblin's just laughing in his face. He's getting punched, but he's laughing. Very Joker moment. When it's like, what are you going to do with all of your strength? Nothing you could do, how that was that great scene in the interrogation room in The Dark Knight. Very similar here, when it was wailing on him, going through the floor, and yeah, as Norman said and the Goblin said in the first movie, the first thing we do is attack his heart, and that's just what he did. He killed Aunt May, who was trying to help, who was trying to cure Norman, but the cure that Peter made didn't work. And then Aunt May eats it the similar way that he does in Spider-Man 1. He gets it by the glider. It's not an instant death. She stands there. She doesn't think she's dying. She thinks she has to catch her breath. She gives that line, with great power, there must come great responsibility. Excellent performance. And I'll say this, Marissa Tomei is great in this movie. She's the best she's been in any of these films. I didn't really take her seriously in the first two films, but this film you take her seriously. And her death makes an impact. And Peter runs. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He flees. He doesn't want to talk to his friends. He's just crying. He's in the rain. And Ned and MJ, they're there, and they're like, you know what? Maybe we should just press this button on this box, send everybody home, let's get this over with. And Ned's just like, I want to see him. I wish we could see Peter. And he's got the ring from Strange. Peter takes the ring and he gives it to Ned, and he gives the box to MJ. So he's like, oh, I wish we could see Peter. And then the portal starts open. She says, Ned, do that again. I wish we could see Peter. I wish we could see Peter. The thing opens. The crowd starts to go crazy. What is this? What's going on here? And we see a lengthier Peter Parker. He comes through, and he's got his Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit on. Takes off his mask. It's Andrew Garfield. The crowd goes insane. I went insane. I thought it was such a great entrance. Excellent entrance. This was a perfect time to fit these guys into the movie. And there's that great scene. She throws bread at him, prove your Peter Parker on that. And they're like, okay, well, maybe we got to find the right Peter, so let's just keep doing it until we find the right Peter. They do it again. And this time the portal opens and you hear, Ta-da, and it's Toby Maguire. And every screening I saw this movie 4 times, and he got the biggest reaction every time. He got the loudest reaction. People were losing their minds seeing him again since 2007, including me. We have Toby in the MCU, guys. This is fantastic. His films, all of it, it's a part of this now. And it almost brought me to tears. You see Andrew and Toby, they're going at it for a little bit, realizing they're Peter, and then Toby's like, "Hey, where does he go? Where does he go? Does he have a place to go to get away from everything?" And they get there, and Tom Holland is just crying, and he's crying, and his friends are hugging him, and that shot goes on for longer than I was expecting. He's bawling his eyes out, and you feel it. And the longer it goes on, the more you feel it, and it's so heartbreaking. And you feel the death. It's like Tom Holland did such a good job in this movie. And then there's the phenomenal scene. He meets the other two Peters. They have a conversation about loss. Andrew's talking about Gwen. Toby's talking about Uncle Ben, and he's like, maybe Aunt May didn't die for nothing. Toby says that, and then they go and they have that science bro scene where the three of them, and they're working together to create the serums to heal these guys, to cure them. Toby's like, I could make this serum for Osborn. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and that makes sense. Maybe after his death, it's been bothering him. How could I have helped him? I thought that was great. Andrew's like, I could fix Dr. Connors. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Great nod to the Amazing Spider-Man. It looked like Tom already had the Electro and Sandman stuff ready, so they just had to repair it. So I thought, all we got to do is really make Toby's going to do one and Andrew's going to do the other. And during that, they have such great conversations, excellent conversations. We have nods to Toby Maguire's MJ, nods to Harry Osborn, James Franco dying in his arms. Turning into a supervillain, it's just, oh man, so many great lines of dialogue. And Ned's like, "Hey, Peter," and they kind of did the pointing meme, where Toby is pointing at Andrew, Andrew's in the middle pointing at both of them, and Tom is pointing at Andrew. And he's like, "Peter, no, Peter, which one?" And they're pointing at each other. They kind of did that meme, and I thought that was great. And they said, "Okay, let's go cure some masks." They got it all ready. Go to the Statue of Liberty, and J.K. Simmons has a great line where he's like, "Oh, he's going to destroy another national monument." And Simmons is fantastic in this as well as J. Jonah Jameson. Like, man, I'm so glad that they brought him into this. Yeah, so it's hilarious. And then you have that great scene. Andrew cracks Toby's back. Oh man, it brings it back to that Spider-Man 2 thing, where it's like, "Oh, my back," and he falls, "My back, my back, my back," and he's having back problems, and Andrew kind of helps that. And they're talking about the villains they fought. Toby references Venom from Spider-Man 3. Andrew references the Rhino in a rhinoceros machine. That was hilarious. And then they fight. The guys come. They need to learn how to work as a team. Things don't go necessarily the way they should have. So like, what is going on out there? Great stuff. Tom's like, "Look, I was in a team before. I was in the Avengers." And Toby's like, "The Avengers? That's great. What is that?" I lost it. I thought that was hilarious hearing that from Toby Maguire in this movie. It was fantastic. And he's like, "Okay, let's just use your tingle." Toby's like, "Okay, let's bring this in. We'll get one at a time. Knock them off the map." Tom's like, "Okay, I'm Peter 1, Toby, Peter 2, and Andrew's like, "Peter 3. It was like, oh my god, so fantastic. And then they mask up and they run, and you get Michael Giacchino's score, dun 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 dun. And then they jump off the thing, bum ba dum ba da da. Oh my god! And then they all land and they have their stance, and you see the three of them suited, and I want that in a frame. Oh my god, I want it in a frame. And this is the part where we get Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4 that we never got. From Spider-Man 3, I thought they were setting up the Lizard in the next film from that Dr. Connors. And guess what? You have Tobey Maguire versus the Lizard in this damn movie. And it gave me like, oh my god. It's awesome to watch. It's like, oh, the Lizard guy's here too. And Andrew's like, "Oh, Max, I missed you, man." Like it none of it felt out of step. It all felt like it's all playing together from all these films, and it was, oh my God, it was excellent. And I love how Octavius comes in and he pretends he's a bad guy, but he ends up curing the Electro. He's the one that does it. He's like, "There you go." And I thought that was great. We cure Sandman. Toby cures Sandman. We see Thomas Hayden Church there, which could be a shot taken from Spider-Man 3. I don't know. It looked very similar. Or they just did the deepfake stuff or the de-aging stuff, and it looked great. But Toby's like, "It's okay, Flint. We're gonna get you home." And you hear the da-na-na-na-na. You hear that in that scene. And it brought a tear to my eye. It's like, oh my God, this is the guy that you made up with killing your uncle, which was an accident. It's like, it was a beautiful moment. And then he has another beautiful moment with Octavius. Doc Ock's like, he has a thing. It's like the power of the sun. Toby comes in the palm of your hand. He's like, "Otto's Peter?" He says, "Otto, oh, he's like, it's good to see you. How are you?" And he says it with happiness. And Toby says his line from Spider-Man 2 where they first meet. And I don't think people caught this, but when he's like, "Oh, you're Connor's student, and I heard you're brilliant. I also heard you were lazy." And he goes, "Well, I'm trying to do better." And he says, being brilliant's not enough, young man. Something about the good of mankind and all that." So when he says, "How are you?" Toby thinks about it and he goes, "Trying to do better." I love how they brought lines back from the original films. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. I'm something of a scientist myself, trying to do better. That stuff warms my heart so damn much. Like, oh my God, it warms my heart so damn much. You got this stuff about Toby's organic web shooters where Andrew and Tom don't have that. Just so many great moments. And then you have that fight. The fight between Norman. Norman comes back. Goblin comes back. The box gets destroyed. This box that was supposed to send them all home, it gets destroyed. Strange comes back, and you got the fight. You got Tom. You got Willem. They're fighting, and it's a brutal battle. And again, you got Tom wailing hard as can be on the Goblin, and Andrew and Toby see this, and right before Tom is so enraged, he picks up the glider. He was going to kill the Goblin just like he died in Spider-Man 1. He was going to kill him with that damn thing. And Toby comes in and says, "No, we're not going to let this happen again. We're going to cure him." And I love that. Toby saved the Goblin, something he wasn't able to do in Spider-Man 1 because it happened so quick. The spider sense, he jumps, the Goblin gets impaled. This, he sees it and he's like, "We're going to fix this. We're going to cure this guy." And they did. And wow. And then we got Norman Osborn. He's cured. Toby does get stabbed. Everybody was freaking out, but he was just like, "Oh, it's okay. I got stabbed before." So it's like, "Oh, he's going to be fine." Thank God. And then they go, Tom goes up and he says, what are we going to do? And he talks to Strange and he's like, "Well, how about we just make everybody forget Peter Parker existed?" Strange said, "Yeah, it'd work." And he's kind of reluctant about it. He doesn't want to do it. And Tom's like, "Just do it." And he's learning. He's making this decision. He's making this choice for the better good. And so emotionally, as that scene with the two Spider-Men, they hug. Tears come to my eyes. They hug. We see MJ. They kiss. Such a great scene. He's like, she said, "I love you." He almost said it back, and she was like, "Tell me when you see me again." The spell. It takes place. Everybody forgets. He goes and everybody disappears. Everybody goes back to their universes. So it's going to be interesting if they ever continue Toby's story. Norman's alive again. Norman's alive again. Otto might end up dying. I don't know how that would play out. Maybe the same way, like I was saying before. Sandman is cured. So are these guys going to be in it? What's going to happen? It's just so many possibilities. And same thing with Andrew's thing, like Electro. He's healed. Dr. Connor's healed. These guys are healed. I would probably imagine Lizard would probably go back to jail, and Max Dillon might go to jail too. I don't know how that would work. I don't even know how that would work. But yeah, Tom goes into the coffee shop, and he has all this plan to say to MJ, and he realizes that her and Ned got into the school, MIT. And he's like, well, I'm not around, and look what happened. All this good. And then he sees that she got the cut on her head, and he's like, maybe I'm not going to tell her. At least not yet. I mean, he'll probably continue to befriend her, and then they'll grow another organic relationship probably. But at this point, he makes a choice. I'm gonna take it solo for a little bit. And he has that great scene with Happy at May's grave, and Happy's like, I really hope that that what she stood for didn't just die with her. And Tom goes, no, it didn't. And he's like, no, and he's like, no, it didn't. And then he gets his own apartment. He makes his new suit, and he's swinging through the city. And he's our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. This is it. This is him. He's the guy. He's looking at the things on his phone, the police radio, and all that. And yeah, the movie has such a good flow, such a good pace. The humor works, the action's fantastic, the CG, the acting. Zendaya and Tom Holland have such chemistry in this movie. It's so fantastic. The writing, the directing, all of it. This is. I've seen it 4 times. I probably like this more than Spider-Man 2. I don't know. It's close. But Spider-Man 2 and No Way Home, I would and The Dark Knight, I'd say are my 3 favorite superhero movies of all time. This is a fantastic film, and yeah, my rating stands. I love it. I love it so much, and I hope you guys got the same enjoyment out of it. Comment down below. What did you think about the film? Spoilers. What was your favorite part of the movie? My favorite part was probably the 3 of them before the final battle, talking about the villains they fought, Andrew cracking Toby's back. That scene was probably the web shooter thing. That scene was probably my favorite scene of the movie. Maybe like, I don't know. I loved it so much. But yeah, guys, comment down below. Also subscribe to the channel for upcoming reviews. We've got a top 10 films of 2021 coming out pretty soon. I'm going to be posting that, and I do plan to do top 10 4K Blu-rays. Keep in mind I haven't seen everything, but I'm going to talk about what I've seen. And yeah, the live show, we got codes for The Last Duel, Ice Age 5-movie collection. That's going to be a big one. And we got No Time to Die coming as well on Tuesday, so that's going to be very exciting. Guys, thank you so much for watching my in-depth spoiler review, spoiler thoughts of Spider-Man No Way Home. And until next time, over and out.